All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to K Talks TV. You guys come on in the room. So let's jump right into it. So, as we all know, over the past few days, I think the incident occurred on August 8th. So, over the past few days, the Frost family has been trending all over social media because of the death of T Hood. Now, all kind of information is coming in from T Hood's family, mostly his sisters. Now we've got information from his baby mama and her friend. All types of text messages have been leaked onto Beyonce's good internet streets. There's been video of him assaulting Kelsey, but to protect ourselves, we're going to say allegedly, and everything that I'm discussing tonight is used under fair use because we're doing criticism and commentary. Okay? Now, with that being said, there's something that people are not talking about. Okay? And that is what has the example of Kirk and Rashida's toxic marriage had on Kelsey's decision making as far as selecting a mate, and this whole ride or die chick trope that is definitely at play in Kirk and Rashida's marriage, because Kirk has stepped outside of his marriage, so much so to the point that he has had an a baby with somebody else, which would be considered an outside child. Um, and Kirk would be, Rashida would be considered a ride or die chick because she's the type of wife that no matter what Kirk does, she's not going to leave him. As a matter of fact, I think that was the title of most recent single before this exploded all over the place, before the incident happened. She came out with a single that I'm not leaving Kirk, or whatever the title was. But that was the gist of the song, that no matter what he does, she's not going to leave him. So what I'm saying is, what I began to think is, okay, so if this is the type of marriage that you guys are not only showing to the world, but the children are at the age where they see all of this unfolding. The parents are on Love and Hip Hop. I'm assuming that the kids were on Love and Hip Hop, because I don't really watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta except for the little, excuse me, guys, except for the little clips and things that I may see in the YouTube shorts that I may see on YouTube, or whatever's on the Shade Room, or Spiritual Word, or whatever's on Instagram, whatever commentary that other people are making about the family, because like I said, I do not watch the show. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, so these kids are watching their parents in this toxic marriage. Um, you know, she was even saying in her post, her Instagram post that she released right after the incident happened, that, they have a toxic relationship, and, no matter what happens between her and T Hood, I'm talking about Kelsey, whatever happened between Kelsey and T Hood, she was not leaving him, and they would always get back together. So she knew not to call her brothers over there because she would be right back with him. Now, I don't know if it's been cleared up whether as to whether or not she did call her brothers over there. But my thing is, there's so many things going on here, so many layers. There's drug use at play. There's threesomes at play. And there's alleged abuse at play, physical abuse at play. And the question that I have is, why did this young lady, Kelsey, with her whole life in front of her, her whole future in front of her, feel that this was the type of relationship that she should be in? One where there's verbal abuse, physical abuse, drug use, and that, you know, she has had to call his mom on several occasions, you know, to Uber, put his things in the Uber and send them to the mom's house because she didn't want him back there. And uh, I think the brother Kai Frost was living with them. So, you know, if they were getting into it, I'm sure at times he probably was witness to these things happening. But if you're watching your dad and your stepmom in this toxic relationship where clearly Kirk does not respect Rashida, I don't care if whatever they got going on is just a storyline for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. It's just a bad look overall. And so if you're watching Rashida take all of this humiliation and just, you know, be in this toxic marriage, and she just, every time something happens, she's doubling down, declaring that she's not going nowhere, she's staying with her man. You know, it sets the example for the kids that, you know, no matter what type of toxic nonsense is going on in your relationship, that's just par for the course. You know, that's just how relationships are. And no matter what your man does to you, you're supposed to be a ride or die chick and just stay there with him and ride it out, which I totally don't agree with, because look at what it has led to. On T Hood's side of the family, you know, the sister was saying that she didn't like Kelsey, and she had some choice words for her and was calling her the B word and saying that she hate that Kelsey ever came into her brother's life. And then, you know, it was being said that that T Hood's baby mom, or whoever the other young lady is that he was involved with, excuse me, you know, they were doing drugs together, and she introduced him to some new drug, and you know, it has had a negative effect on him. You know, not that the whatever old drugs he was doing didn't have a negative effect on him, but you know, he had tried some new drugs with the baby mama, and it's just a toxic, ratchet, ghetto mess. You know, and you would think that, you know, this family has an opportunity to be on Love and Hip Hop and change their lives and start businesses. But then we got to ask ourselves, what is the influence of love and hip hop on the culture? Is it a positive influence, or is it a negative influence with all types of fighting and cursing and ratchet, toxic behavior? And now look at what happened. Also, another thing that we have to take into consideration is the old folks saying is that the sins of the father often fall on the children. Look at the example of manhood that Kirk is displaying to the world. He's a husband, he's a father, and look how he's treating his wife. What type of an example is Kirk setting for his kids, namely his sons and his daughter? That this is, you're supposed to take all types of abuse, disrespect, and embarrassment from your husband? And it's normalized because Rashida won't go anywhere. She won't leave Kirk. I don't know if it's for the, she's staying with him for the love and hip hop check or the storyline, or because she just feels like no matter what he does, she's just supposed to grin and bear it. I this is not, I don't come from this world. This is not my world. Not to say that, when I was younger, I didn't go through things and maybe, there was some toxic behavior going on in a relationship that I was in. But you would think that the older you get, the wiser you get, the more wisdom you gain, and you realize that, you know, being in these types of relationships is not going to lead to anything good. And now look at the situation. This young man, T Hood, that probably had a substance abuse problem, and he was not getting any help for it because, his family and possibly Kelsey was enabling him. So he had a substance abuse problem that he wasn't getting help for. Even though you can't force nobody to get help if they have a substance abuse problem, they have to get to the point in their lives where they decide to make that change and go into rehab or go cold turkey or just turn their lives around. So, now Kai Frost at his young age is in a whole world of trouble. I don't know if they're going to be able to spin it to where you they're saying that it was self-defense, or maybe when they got over there to assist their sister, they were being attacked. I don't know how they're going to spin it, what their defense is going to be. But two of the sons are going to be in a world of trouble. Their legal problems are just beginning. I don't even know, because I've been at work, so I don't know if there has been an arrest made, but it just didn't have to be. And another thing that we have to talk about is when young women get into these type of toxic relationships, whether there's verbal abuse or physical abuse, they need, when the first red flags, the first signs of abuse, they need to leave. Because once you accept that type of behavior one time, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. And then things like this can happen. Now there's a death. T Hood is gone on to meet his maker, and the Frost family is left to pick up the pieces. Their troubles have just begun. We don't, the world is watching. We're watching this thing unfold in real time. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, of course, there's going to be a trial, and it could have been prevented had somebody stepped in and would have been able to get through to this young lady that, look, you probably think this is love, but this is not love. I don't know if it's trauma bonding but it's unhealthy. And the two of you need to take a break from this relationship and get some therapy and figure out why the two of you feel like this is healthy behavior. Because sitting around doing drugs and whooping on each other, that ain't it. That is not love at all. That is toxicity at its finest. And we have to stop normalizing this type of behavior. I was listening to somebody else's podcast today, and if I'm not wrong, somebody was in a text thread with Kirk Frost, and he was basically saying that he had washed his hands of the situation because I don't know if he tried to step in and talk to his daughter, and she she's an adult, so perhaps the family tried to step in and let her know that she didn't need to be with the young man, but she didn't want to leave him. But then again, Kurt, you know, how can you step in and say anything to your daughter about being in a toxic relationship and you're in a toxic relationship? That is the example that you're setting for your daughter. You're in a marriage with Rashida, that a woman that you don't respect, that you're embarrassing on worldwide television. So this is kind of karma for Kirk, for the way that he's carrying himself as a man and as a husband and a father. Now look at what has happened to your daughter, and look at what has happened to your son. Sometimes we write a karmic check that our what's can't cash. And when those karma checks get cashed, sometimes we can't handle it. This should be a wake-up call to Kirk to get his act together. And this should be a wake-up call to Rashida to sit back and take inventory of her marriage and the foolishness that she lets occur. And she just sits back and just looks like the biggest loser, the biggest fool. Like, I understand that you love your husband, but come on. Like, we don't have to sit around as women and just take all types of abuse to prove that we love somebody. Love is not supposed to hurt. It's not supposed to be embarrassing. Like, it's not supposed to make a fool out of you. And make a fool out of you once, twice, but continuously making a fool out of you. Now there's word that the young lady who Kirk had the baby by, I don't know. I don't even know what the girl's name, Jessica, whatever her name is, that she might be pregnant again. I mean, I know the Love and Hip Hop checks may be good, but are they that good? Are y'all getting $1 million per episode or something like that, like the cast of Friends? Like, if that's the case, sign me up. Go ahead and embarrass me for $1 million an episode. But if it ain't no money like that, is it really worth it? And now look at what has happened to your family. What kind of example are you guys setting for Black love, Black marriages, Black family? What type of an example are y'all setting? It's disgraceful and it's toxic. I've never really been a Love and Hip Hop person. I've never really watched that show. I think I used to watch Love and Hip Hop New York way, way back when Chrissy was on there, and what is Emily B, and that was a long time ago. But I stopped watching that stuff a long time ago because I'm just really not interested in all of that, but and what part does Mona Scott play in all of this? Because she's the ringleader of the Love and Hip Hop circus. That was just my take on things, what I had thought about this whole situation that people were not talking about. What is Kirk and Rashida's role in all of this? Like, y'all are setting a horrible example for your kids. Even if this hadn't occurred, for the Frost boys to be feeling like, oh, it's okay for me to have a woman and have other women on the side, or for me to get married and have a mistress and have a baby on my wife, and you know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. If you're going to get married, marriage is a covenant. Like, Either you're going to do the right thing or why be married? So, like I said, friends, I just wanted to come on here and talk about it, because I have been watching, several podcasts, several people report on the situation, but nobody is really mentioning you, the role that Kirk and Rashida's influence over their children played a part in this situation unfolding. Um, so we're all watching. Um, we're all watching to see what happens, and of course, as things unfold, I'll be back with an update. I would love to hear what you guys think about this whole situation. And, it's just really unfortunate. It's just really, really unfortunate that, this young man, T. Hood, has lost his life before he could even get his life together. Kelsey's lost somebody that she loves or think that she loved, and the Frost boys, God knows what's going to happen to them, but they may have thrown their lives away, or they may be going away for some years. I would hate to be in Kirk and Rashida's shoes right now, but like I said, you know I hope they get it together. I really, really do. um Thanks for watching the video, guys. I would like for you guys to like, comment, and subscribe. It's free support of my channel. And until next time, guys, talk to you guys later. Bye.